The title of my message today is You're in God's Hands. Yes, we did have Thanksgiving. Yes, this nation did give thanks as a whole just to be here. We have this nation of abundance, freedom, abundance food, just a land of opportunity for many, many years. And as a result, I was thinking of something, and I had prepared this message quite early because it was going to be last month, but I see something else occurred, and that's why I'm giving it now. To start off with, we have a verse which is found in 1 John 4:19. So let's all turn to 1 John 4:19. Just like we had just sung, all right? It says, "He loved us before we even knew about him." We love him because he was first loved, and this is actually proven to us by the way he has allowed us to come to understand the truth. And so, I want to tell a couple of stories. I want each one of you to, after I finish my message today, to reflect upon how God was working in your own life, all right, and that He'll always be there for each and every one of us. And now, the first story is this. One of my uncles was an auto mechanic, all right? He had a shop, maybe 2 or 3 car garage that he leased. Metro North was in the process of expanding, and as a result of the expansion, which was in the late 60s, early 70s, instantaneously, my uncle lost his livelihood. He was given notice by his landlord that his lease was not going to be renewed, that the property was condemned. So instantaneously, as a result of this expansion, like I said, he lost his livelihood. He lost the fact that he had to relocate. He had to find another place to set up shop. He had to hope that his customers still come to him. And as a result, he had to find another place and spend more money for another place. But something else occurred, all right? And what occurred was this. It was suggested to him that he tried to get a job with maybe the city of White Plains or the city of Yonkers. So he fills out an application, he goes down, he presents his application, and somebody tells him this: "We're not hiring." Okay. But the person he spoke to also told him this: "With all your experience, why don't you go to this address?" All right, which is what he did. So we went to another location, filled out another application, and he got his job. All right, so he went from having nothing to having a job, all right, which was a weekly paycheck, to having benefits, which he didn't have previously, all right, to having an opportunity to work overtime, which he didn't have previously. His life just seemed to get better. Now, I present this story to you for this very particular purpose. All right, let's look now in Ecclesiastes 9, verse 11. All right? And I'm going to read 2 different translations. So turn now, Ecclesiastes 9 and verse 11. And this first one is out of the New King James. And this is what it says. God inspired King Solomon to write this. "I returned and I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all." All right. Now, I'm going to read the next translation from the New Living Translation. "I observed something else under the sun. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race. The strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. The wise sometimes go hungry. The skillful are not necessarily wealthy. And those who are educated don't always lead successful lives. It is all decided by chance, by being in the right place at the right time." So going back to my uncle, all right, was God watching over him, or was he in the right place at the right time? He doesn't go to church, and therefore the only conclusion I can have is he was in the right place at the right time. Time and chance just happened to flow in his particular place. Now I'm going to tell you a different story, a more personal story, and that story is about me. Our father built 2 houses. right next to each other. One was ours, and the other one he sold. So he wanted to finish the basement off. I was the oldest son, 7, 8 years old. Guess who was the helper? Me. All right. But as a result of helping him, all right, I helped him wire our house. And as a result, I got this interest in electricity. I wanted to be an electrician. All right. So I went to Thomas Edison High School. All right. And from going to Thomas Edison High School, I learned basically how to be an electrician, but not that I qualified. I just was basically qualifying to be a helper for somebody. But the Vietnam War was around. I didn't want to go out and work, so I tried going to school. I went to Queensborough Community College, and as a result, what happened was I had to make up for about 1.5 years remedial classes. I was able to stay out of the service simply because I was making up remedial classes and carrying a full-time curriculum. So when the lottery came out, I left school because making up the remedial classes didn't seem to really do too much for me. I was in over my head because they kept telling me to make up these classes. I did not have the education to continue. So I left. I went to work for alarm companies. I went to work for an electrical contractor. I tried working for other places, and they just didn't want to hire me. And the reason I got work for an electrical contractor is time and chance. I was in Bohank supermarket with my mother. She was shopping. She met a woman that she knew, a friend of hers, whose son was an electrical contractor, who needed somebody to help him. Guess what? I got the job. So I worked with him for a little while. But I left that job after a while. Family had moved up to Nassau County, and I got another job up in Glen Cove. I answered an advertisement to be an electrician wiring some equipment they were manufacturing. I went down, that position was filled. God is now doing something in my life which I didn't realize back then. I learned another skill. They hired me to be a purchasing agent for them. I had the electrical background they needed, and they said, okay, fine, and I did. And as a result, I started learning another trade. That company moved to Ohio. I lost my job again. I had to go find something else. I had a job in bowling alley for a while, but then I answered another advertisement for another company looking for a purchasing agent, and they hired me. All right, so my life was starting to change this way. Continuing on, I started to meet owners of companies, presidents, sales representatives of manufacturers, and conversations started to change, all right, as to business, making money, profits, recession, opportunities. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go to school now and take up a business curriculum. So I started going at night at Farmingdale College at night. But then something else occurred. Since I wanted to make money, I started watching shows pertaining to money. Another thing occurred. I turn around and I would go to sleep sometimes. So I missed the show. What happened was I started watching The World Tomorrow, which was just before the show I wanted to watch. Interesting. So I watched something I had no intention of watching. And I started changing my life because I picked the Bible up and started reading what was there. Because I said, no, I didn't learn that. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And every time I looked at it, I kept seeing different things. And one time I threw the Bible across the room because I just couldn't grasp, I couldn't accept, I couldn't believe that all the years I went to school, in a Catholic school, I was taught something which was not in the Bible. God changed my life, all right? And so, as a result, that's why I'm here. Now, if you reflect upon this, and you turn around, and again, I say, 1 John 4:19, he loved us before we loved him, all right? And with that, he steered me, he guided me, really, to the truth, through the fact that I wanted to get a better education, and I was, working. All right. Now we're going to look at another scripture, and it's Psalms 37. I'm going to read 23 to 24. So find Psalms 37, 23. And this is talking about the footprints in the sand. All right. It says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. He delights in his way. Though he falls, he shall not utterly be cast down, for the Lord upholds him in his hand. All right. And so, without knowing it, I was in God's hand. All right. Why he called me, I don't know. Why did he call any other room in my family? I do not know. I can't answer that. But I stand here. All right. Another scripture similar to it is found in Proverbs 20 and verse 24. And in Proverbs 20 and verse 24, again, it says, a man's steps are of the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? The Lord directs our steps, so why try to understand everything along the way? We have to learn to trust him, believe in him, stay close to him, and let him guide our steps. If I read Proverbs 3 and verses 5 and 6 from the New Living Translation, it'll say something very similar. So turn to Proverbs 3, and we'll read verse 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you the path which to take. And it's essentially what I started doing. Now, not many of us have the opportunity to be born in God's church. My son was born in God's church, but he's not here. He's battling his youth. He's battling right and wrong, what he wants to do, what he's trying to do, and how he feels. All right, he's growing up, and maybe down the road, because of what we taught him, he will come back. All right. So even though you're born in God's church, and not many of us are, all right, it's up to us to make that decision. Now, as for protection, let's look at Genesis 19, and the story is from 1 to 22, but we're just going to read a small portion of it. Actually, what I'm going to do is summarize it. That'll be easier. We know Abraham was God's friend. All right. God visited Abraham, and he said, should I hide from Abraham what I plan to do? And he did not. All right. He told him what he planned to do. All right. So Abraham starts bargaining to spare a city. Lot's there. He's not bargaining for Lot. He's bargaining for a city. He's bargaining for all the lives that are there. But finally he got to the point where God said, enough is enough. All right, and that's it. So he sent angels to retrieve Lot, to get Lot out of the city. Lot didn't want to leave, but they dragged him out of the city. Lot's wife didn't want to flee. She wanted to go back. She turned. She became a pillar of salt. Lot and his daughters fled. They did not look back. So again, if you're in God's hands, all right, and we just follow what he says, we'll do the right thing. He will watch over us and protect us. Now, continuing on, there was Joshua. And Joshua 1:1. Moses cannot go into the promised land. And we see in Joshua 1:1, God was talking to Joshua, all right, and he was basically telling him that he will be with him just like he was with Moses. Now, God talks to us as we pray. All right. We may not have the conversations that Moses had with God, but he will let us know by the occurrences of the circumstances around us and how they work out and the steps we should take and what we should do. And in verse 6, it says, "Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess the land I have sworn to their ancestors and I will give to them." So he's telling him he's going to be with him as long as he follows everything that Moses told him to do. So now, what have we learned? That God loved us before we loved him. All right? We know that time and chance happens to everyone. I showed you the way God worked in my life, how time and chance was in my life, and how from time and chance being in my life, all right, which God directed, I'm here. I changed my life. We know Proverbs that the Lord directs our steps, and we see what he has done after he has did it. Right? God himself talked with Joshua. He told him he would be with him as long as he obeyed the laws Moses had commanded him, and that's for us too. As long as we obey the laws that we know are the Ten Commandments, all right, keep God's holy days, he likes to others, he will be with us. And so, remember, we're in God's hands.